For months now, Atlantic patrols have suffered heavy losses. Convoys suddenly change course. Escorts appear where none should be. Supply ships strike us as if they knew we were coming. He looks at Weiss. We blamed Allied luck. Their radar. Their planes. A beat. But what if it's more than that? Weiss's voice is small. You think. Enigma. Kretschmer doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. Another explosion detonates directly above them. Louder, sharper, closer. Boom, kerrang. Sparks rain from a junction box. Someone yells in pain. The captain steadies himself, eyes locked on the trembling deck. They're reading our signals, he says finally. Every coordinate, every movement, every report. A cold shiver grips the men. Because if that is true, the U-boat arm is blind. Their secrecy is an illusion. And every hunter in the Atlantic is already marked for death. Kretschmer straightens. Silent running. Rig for depth charges. Hold course. No one speaks unless I order it. Outside, destroyers will into new attack patterns. Tightening, tightening. Inside you, 123, fear hangs thicker than the diesel fumes. But this crew is not finished yet. They will not die easy. The air inside you, 123, grows hotter and heavier as the submarine settles at 150 meters, deeper than Kretschmer ever intended to take her on this patrol. Sweat beads on foreheads. Pipes drip condensation in steady, taunting rhythms. Each breath tastes of oil, metal, and fear. Kretschmer crouches beside the chart table, whispering orders meant to keep sound to a minimum. Helm, bring us 5 degrees to port. Slow drift only. No engine noise. The helmsman barely nudges the controls, his movements ghost-like. The electric motors hum so faintly they could be imagined. In the sound room, Hayden leans forward, eyes closed, listening to the Atlantic with the intensity of a man eavesdropping on death. The destroyers are tightening their circle, he murmurs. Port vessel passing overhead now. His voice trails off as a sonar ping reverberates through the hull. Ping. A pause. Ping. Another pause. Closer. A hunter testing the water. Measuring. Confirming. Kretschmer watches the ceiling as though he can see the enemy ships through layers of steel and seawater. Hold steady, he whispers. Above the waves, HMS Hesperus. The destroyer cuts a clean wake across the dark sea, her engines pounding at flank speed. The radar mast rotates in steady sweeps. The HF/DF antenna, the Huff Duff, stands tall, listening for German radio chatter. Lieutenant Commander Donald McIntyre scans the plotting board. U-boat is below us and drifting low, his sonar officer says. Her pattern is textbook evasive maneuvering. McIntyre nods with a grim smile. They still think their communications are secure. He taps the decoded note on the table. A message that you, 123, sent less than an hour ago. Bring us around for another run. Depth charge pattern Bravo. Tight spacing. Aye, sir. The destroyer banks hard, rolling into position. Below, in the suffocating dark, the men of U, 123, feel the vibrations long before the danger hits. Back aboard you, 123. Hayden's eyes snap open. They're making another pass. Bearing 125. Speed increasing. Everyone braces. Kretschmer clamps his hand around a pipe overhead. Hold on. Then, tum. A single, sharp blast. A warning shot, followed by 6 in rapid sequence. Boom, 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 crack. The submarine convulses. Men are thrown sideways. A toolbox crashes to the floor, scattering wrenches across the decking. The lights flicker wildly, then steady to a dim, wounded glow. Merton shouts from the engine space. Minor damage aft. Pumps holding. Water drips through bolts overhead. Slowly, but enough to make every man stare upward. The hull is trembling. The pressure is immense. Another close hit could be the one that folds them in half. Kretschmer's breathing remains steady, but his eyes burn with calculation. He crouches to the helmsman and whispers, descend another 5 meters. Slowly, and steer hard to port after 20 seconds. No more. The helmsman nods. The boat begins to sink deeper into the crushing black. A few men close their eyes. Some whisper prayers. Others grip crucifixes or photos tucked into their uniforms. In the sound room, Haydn whispers updates, each word a dagger. Destroyer turning, second destroyer moving to intercept. They're adjusting as if they know our course. Kretschmer closes his eyes. No U-boat captain wants to admit the possibility. But now, amid the trembling steel and suffocating air, the truth can no longer be dismissed. Their radio messages, scrambled through the mighty enigma, are not secrets. The Allies are reading them, predicting them, hunting them, and the ocean is no longer a shield. It is a trap. The U-boat groans as it reaches 155 meters. Any deeper, and the hull might implode. Any higher, and the destroyers will tear them apart. Kretschmer knows they must act soon, or die quietly in the dark. The steel bones of U-123 moan under the weight of the Atlantic, a low, aching groan that vibrates through every man's chest. At 155 meters, the pressure is monstrous. Bolts creak. Pipes bead sweat. The very hull seems to breathe like a living thing, straining, flexing, begging for mercy. Kretschmer wipes moisture from his brow. It's not sweat. It's condensation, forming in thin, misty trails along the overhead pipes. The air is so warm and dense it feels like a wet cloth pressed over the crew's faces. He knows they can't stay at this depth long. Haydn's voice drifts from the sound room, thin as a ghost. Destroyers separating, one moving ahead, one falling behind. They're adjusting to box us in again. It's unnatural, too coordinated, too exact. The Allies aren't guessing. They're following. Kretschmer steps toward the chart table, gripping it for balance as another tremor ripples through the boat. His senior officers gather close in the cramped space. We need to change our pattern, he murmurs. Everything we've tried, they've countered. Oberleutnant Zur C. Hans Vogel, his second in command, leans in. Depth isn't helping. We can't go much lower. Mertens, the chief engineer, adds quietly. At 160 meters, the hull starts to deform. At 170, we find out what the afterlife looks like. A grim murmur spreads. Another sonar ping rolls through the hull. Ping, 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 asterisk, asterisk. Slower, more certain. Kretschmer closes his eyes. It's the sound of a hunter that already knows its prey is cornered. Above the waves, HMS Restigouche. Spray crashes over the bow as the Canadian destroyer surges into position. Her depth-charge crews stand ready, watching the signal lamps from HMS Hesperus flicker commands across the dark waves. Lieutenant Commander Guy Stanley studies the scribbled coordinates delivered from western approaches. Coordinates decrypted barely minutes after U-123 transmitted them. Poor bastards, he mutters. They don't know we're inside their heads. An officer calls out from sonar. Contact bearing steady. U-boat still drifting at depth. Recommend pattern Charlie, sir. Stanley nods. Deploy. The order rings out. Crewmen pull release levers. Rollers spin. Depth charges splash into the sea. 1, 2, 3, 4, each sinking silently before the carnage. Back aboard U-123. Haydn's eyes snap open. New pattern incoming. Kretschmer braces himself against the periscope stand. Hold tight. A heartbeat. 2, 3. Boom, 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 crayak. The submarine lurches violently. Men crash into bulkheads. A gauge shatters. A pipe bursts overhead, spraying a fine mist of seawater into the compartment. Flooding in compartment 4, someone shouts. Valves holding, but pressure rising. Kretschmer forces his way toward the damage report station, gripping handrails as the submarine shudders again. This is it, the breaking point. If one more charge hits near the aft pressure hull, if the pumps fail, if a seam tears open, the Atlantic will crush them in seconds. He turns to his officers, breathing hard. We cannot outdive them. We cannot outrun them. He pauses, letting the truth settle like lead in the men's stomachs. So we will outthink them. Silence. Even the creaking of the hull seems to pause. Kretschmer lowers his voice to a whisper. They are reading our radio signals. Until we break their pattern, until we give them something they do not expect, they will hunt us until the sea finishes the job. His officers exchange uneasy glances. What are you proposing? Vogel asks. Kretschmer's jaw tightens. A silent ascent. Minimal power. Turn the blind spot beneath their screws, then rise to attack depth. A few men blink in shock. Attack? Now? Against 2 destroyers? But Kretschmer is unyielding. If we stay down here, we die. If we run, they follow. If we wait, they crush us. He looks each man in the eyes. But if we strike, if we get beneath just one of them, we may break free. The ocean groans as if protesting the idea. But it's the only chance they have. Kretschmer grips the periscope stand and whispers the next order. Prepare for ascent. The men move, slowly, silently, fear giving way to purpose. Above them, destroyers circle like sharks. Below them, the deep grows darker and more crushing by the second. And between those 2 worlds, one U-boat crew steels itself for a desperate, impossible maneuver. Every man aboard U-123 feels the shift as the submarine begins its slow, silent ascent. The bow tilts upward by only a few degrees, so subtle that an untrained eye might miss it, yet every seasoned submariner senses the change instantly. Kretschmer stands rigid in the control room, fingertips resting lightly on the periscope handles. His voice is barely more than a breath. Trimmer carefully, no sudden corrections. The chief engineer adjusts ballast with agonizing precision, rising at 1 meter every 10 seconds. Her captain, good, gradual, almost imperceptible. The only way they might slip into a destroyer's blind spot, the narrow cone directly beneath its keel where sonar returns blur into meaningless echoes. Haydn listens intently in the sound room, sweat forming on his temples. Destroyer on port side slowing, propellers reducing speed, listening for us. The men freeze, holding their breath. Even the hum of the electric motors seems too loud. Above the waves, HMS Hesperus. Lieutenant Commander McIntyre stands with binoculars raised, scanning the moonlit water. The convoy they're protecting steams steadily eastward, but his focus stays on the patch of sea where the U-boat was last detected. Any contact? He calls. His sonar officer shakes his head. No firm return, sir. She may be going deep. McIntyre frowns. That's the mistake they always make. They think safety's downward. He taps the HF/DF direction finder, still pointed toward U-123's last transmission line bearing. She's close. I can feel it. He signals for Restigouche to tighten the search pattern. The trap stays closed. Back aboard U-123. The hull groans again as the submarine rises, shedding a fraction of the crushing pressure. It brings no joy, only new danger. Kretschmer watches droplets of condensed seawater fall like slow rain from the overhead pipes. Depth, he murmurs. Now, at 120 meters, Mertens replies softly. Still deep, but safer. Kretschmer nods. We continue. Slow ascent. No turns. Then, a sharp whisper from Haydn. Destroyer overhead. Moving directly above us. Speed low. Searching. The men go rigid. Haydn presses his headphones tighter. She's right on top of us. 15 meters above, maybe less. A single cough or clank could betray them. Even the ticking of a loose bolt might be. Kretschmer raises a finger. Silence. No one moves. No one breathes too deeply. For long seconds, all they hear is the distant thrum of the destroyer's propellers and the faint knocking of waves against her hull. Then, ping, a sonar pulse strikes the water. The sound echoes through U-123's hull like a church bell rung underwater. The destroyer is checking for returns directly beneath her. Haydn winces. That one was close. Another ping. Closer. And then, a strange quiet. Her sonar. It's losing us, Haydn whispers. Kretschmer exhales slowly. Good. Very good. They are slipping beneath the destroyer's acoustic cone. But the window is narrow. Seconds, not minutes. Prepare to rise another 20 meters. Kretschmer orders quiet.